Hi there, welcome back. My name is Madison Harris, and I will be your host for another episode of Mom Talk, where we talk about all things gruesome and gritty of motherhood. It isn't always sunshine and rainbows, sometimes you're elbow deep in baby shit, and I'm here to get you through it. Did you know that this year, 41% of marriages in the United States are expected to end in divorce? In this day and age, when people say I do, the significance is not what it used to be. People throw divorce around like it's a breakup. When you date someone, breaking up is easy, but when you're married to someone, your entire lives are intertwined. You don't just get to say, I'll see you later, and walk out of the door when things get tough. That's why you got down on one knee and proposed to that person, or the reason that you said yes to the person who proposed. You wanted to fight through forever with them. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely insane to stay with someone who cheats, lies, manipulates, etc. That's not the instances I will be referring to in this episode. This is for the tiny petty arguments or maybe pet peeves you develop with your partner that some people blow up into something as big as divorce. I've carefully selected a few Reddit stories to give my opinion on or maybe advice on whether they should actually get divorced or seek alternative solutions. Marriage counseling can be so beneficial in times where you just can't hear one another. It doesn't have to be end all be all, unless it's quite literally just that horrible. And with that being said, let's get into the very first Reddit story. Are his actions divorce worthy? So sorry I sound so dumb. Background: I, 33 female, have been with my husband, 35 male, for about 9 years total. 5 years married. We just had a baby about a year ago. We used to live in a foreign country but moved back home about 6 months ago. Since moving back home, husband has been spending a lot of time with his friends. Within the past 6 months, he has come home late, 4 a.m., half drunk, more times than I can count. He goes to strip clubs because his quote-unquote business connections are there, and he wants to build rapport and business relationships. I have told him countless times that I feel disrespected, but he just says sorry. The other night, I said I'm leaving and I'm done. He begged me to stay, and I did. Tonight, he told me he would be attending an office party, which should have been until 7 p.m. as it's a weekday. He of course tells me that he will come home soon, but he's gonna have a couple beers with his friends first. He comes home at 10 p.m., half drunk again. The baby kept waking up from 10:30 to 12 a.m., and he did not flinch. That's how out he was. I'm currently a stay-at-home mom because I want to focus on the baby until she turns 2. Financially, it was also fine for us to do this, stating the fact because I feel maybe he thinks since he's the sole provider, he has the right to do this. I'm not sure where he gets the idea that his actions are fine. I think I might have been too forgiving and that's why he keeps doing it. He keeps on insisting he needs to go out this late for his connections since his main source of income deals with people knowing the right people. Am I overreacting? I feel very unappreciated, disrespected, and unloved. Just a night ago, he was begging for me to stay, but not less than 24 hours later, he chooses to drink with a friend, not a business connection, over going home early and spending time with me. I feel like I'm being so needy, but I also feel like this is not how a normal marriage should be. Let me just say, this woman is already stronger than me. Because the second my husband said he was at a strip club for quote unquote business, he would no longer have a head. He would never do that to me, just to be clear, but good grief. Mothers do a lot, especially stay-at-home moms. She's doing everything and then some while he gets to go out and get drunk for quote-unquote business. I'm sorry for my repetitiveness, but this guy is bonkers. If you're gonna go out, make these so-called business connections, it's unbelievably unprofessional to get wasted. That's why his excuse does not sit right with me at all. It's more so him wanting to be out with his friends, getting drunk, and not really about his business. I wouldn't jump immediately to divorce, especially since this hasn't always been her husband. I would attempt marriage counseling to try and come to some sort of resolution maybe, whether it's him being truthful about what he's doing and where he's going, or he stays at home and takes care of his child. This isn't her being needy. She's wanting affection and personal time with her husband, and last I checked, that's not a crime. You married this person for a reason. I am not a fan of his behavior at all, and like I said, I would have beheaded my husband had he done anything like this. But if he hasn't always been this way, I have hope that he can go back to the person that he was before. Of course, only if you're willing to continue with the marriage. I almost decided against this episode because these stories infuriate me so deeply. Anyway, on to the next story. Divorce or stay? I've been with my husband for 6 years and married for 4. It all went quite quick. He moved in with me within 2 weeks, got engaged after a year, and now we've got an 18-month-old baby. The past few years have been hard. It's been in and out of the hospital while they figure out what's wrong with me, something to do with my gallbladder, but because I'm 30, they keep saying I'm too young to have it removed. My husband is a police officer. He used to be brilliant. He used to be full of love and affection. He's not anymore. The moment my pain starts, he turns into a person I really don't like. I had a flare up at 3 a.m. this morning and I was crying and rolling around in pain. The room was spinning and he said he was going to sleep upstairs because he could not be bothered with it. The other day we were in the doctor's reception because our daughter was poorly. I was on my period, so stood up. I just found sitting a bit uncomfortable, and he told me I looked like a terrified, abused wife because I was standing up. He told me I'm a letdown to him, to our daughter. He's not the man I married. I want to leave, but I'm so scared he's going to play dirty and take my daughter. It's the only thing that's stopping me. She's my little barnacle. All she wants is me. My condition doesn't stop me from caring for her, as I tend to now only have flare-ups when I've eaten something I shouldn't, and when those happen, I live minutes away from family, who always come to help if my husband isn't here. I work from home full-time. I earn a nice amount, so I could afford my own house and mortgage. He's a police and works evenings and night shifts. But I'm scared of what he would try to pull. Has anyone been through this? Can he use my health condition as a reason to keep her from me? I'm in England. My heart is honestly aching for this woman. Her husband used to be so loving and affectionate, and he's turned into a man who tells her she's a letdown to him. Sometimes it's extremely hard for me to fathom how someone can speak to a person they love this way, especially if you're a grown adult. At this point, they've only been married for 4 years. I can understand the horrifying and draining things you must see or go through as a police officer, but honestly, it's so unfair to take out that fear and frustration on your wife. The woman you married because you wanted to spend forever with her. He also treats her differently every time she's a medical flare-up, which to me is screaming red flag. Men are literal babies when they're sick, especially if it's just a cold. This poor woman is having gallbladder issues, and I can't even imagine the pain she's experiencing. He left her to go sleep upstairs because he could not be bothered. I wholeheartedly support divorce. This isn't a minor issue. This is not a petty behavior. This man is verbally abusing his wife and neglecting her help when she has medical flare-ups. I hope that if she decides to leave, it's an easy and pain-free separation despite what we know about this man this far. No one, and I mean no one, should be talked to like that, especially someone you claim to love. Hopefully you didn't get angry enough to throw your phone out of the window and you're still listening. We are on to our very last story. Should I divorce my husband? I've given my husband the last 14 years of my life while I focused on building him up, caring for our child, growing my income, and helping us achieve what I thought were shared goals. I happily prioritize his hobbies like hunting and fishing because I know those are things that make him happy, and I appreciate what he contributes to our family, financially, and he does also help with chores. So I want him to relax doing the things that he enjoys. 2 years ago, I helped him buy a boat that my daughter and I have only been invited on a handful of times. He'd rather get drunk with our single male neighbor than spend any time with me, and our sex life is non-existent. It's gotten really gross begging for a man that turns me down unless he is slurring his words drunk. I'm 5'9", average 165 to 170 pounds, and I'm not bragging, but I'm definitely cute. I can't wrap my head around the lack of affection. He complains that I'm too heavy when I try to curl up and snuggle, but this is a strong guy, and I'm the thinnest I've been since college. Last time we had a rare date night, I asked if I looked okay, and he rolled his eyes and said, "Oh, I see we're fishing for compliments today." I'm at a loss. I never thought this is what our marriage would look like. Is this normal? Do grown men not enjoy kissing, hand-holding, snuggling, or even sex after 30? Between the lack of intimacy, his hair-trigger temper, and the way he's treated both our daughters and our pets, I'm ready to call this marriage. The problem is that I really do love this man, and I would give anything for him just to be kind to our daughter and myself. If you had told me 15 years ago that I would marry a man that consistently grabbed a child so hard they bruised and that regularly kicked a puppy for misbehaving, I would have told you you were insane. Yet, here I am. Is this just how men are? Or is there better out there? I'm disgusted. I tried to think of a very nice way to put that, but I physically cannot. A man that has any negative comment about the woman he is with and voices it without empathy is pathetic. Just because you're unhappy with yourself does not mean you get to take that out on the closest person to you. It's upsetting because they've clearly been together a very long time and he was not always this way. I always wonder in these stories what, after so many years, happens that causes a man to just turn into a different person. Sure, people experience grief, depression, anxiety, as well as a million other things, but it's so important that you don't push away your support system, specifically your partner through thick and thin. You're supposed to confide in them when you feel low, need help, or just want to talk about whatever's on your mind. My original opinion when I read this story, I didn't do a full deep dive and actually read every bit, but I thought they could save this relationship until I read the part about him kicking a puppy and bruising their daughter. That's when I was like, okay, yeah, no, there is no marriage counseling that's gonna save this. That he needs personal therapy. He needs help. At this point, this is not just a relationship issue. He's withholding intimacy from his wife, bruising his child, and kicking a puppy. I think that there are much better men out there, much, much better, and I hope that truly this woman finds one. No one ever deserves to feel like they're walking around on eggshells in a relationship, especially if you're married. Like, they've been together for 14 years, they've spent so much of their lives together, only for it to come to an end like this. Because, honestly, I hope that she leaves. No one, and especially not that puppy, please leave and take the puppy and your baby. Get out of there. A friend of mine that I met on TikTok, her name is Lex Ferrante, I've asked her to come on and give her take on this story. She is an IVF mama, a content creator, and an online business owner and mentor, which of course made her a perfect candidate for this episode. I hope you enjoy what she has to say as much as I did.
Marriage is for sure a really hard and challenging, but also amazing and fulfilling thing if both sides are willing to work on it. You know, from my perspective in reading this, obviously I'm hearing only her side. To me, it doesn't seem like he's wanting to work on it, right? It's a one-sided relationship. So I think in this scenario, my advice or my suggestion would be to sit down and have a serious conversation with this man and figure out like, hey, you know, we've spent more than a decade and a half together. We've started a family together. We've built dreams and goals together, right? Dreams and goals change. Are we still aligned? Are we still headed in the right direction, right? I think clear communication is the biggest thing in a marriage, right? And it sounds like maybe there's a little bit of an alcohol problem, which definitely feeds into the lack of intimacy. I've been with my husband for almost 14 years now, and one thing that has always been a priority of ours is intimacy. I think that is something that many marriages lack, you know, and it can make or break a marriage. Have you ever been in a relationship where intimacy is all you have and everything else is toxic and terrible, but you stick around for that? Right? It can really make or break it. So I think being on the same page and having a serious conversation and figuring out, one, are we aligned? And two, like, are you still wanting to be intimate with me? Because yes, as people age, especially men, testosterone levels tend to go down. That is something we had to figure out with my husband, right? He went and worked with his doctor and he worked with the hormone specialist to make sure that his hormones are all still in the right place, right? And I'm doing the same thing as well, because after having children, yes, like that desire changes. So my perspective would be to have that serious conversation, figure out, do we still want to make this work? And then also a big red flag for me is her comment about how he treats their daughter and their pets, right? Like, to me, how a person treats children and animals is like a telltale sign of who that person is to their core. So I do think that has to have another serious conversation, right? If someone ever left a bruise on my child, partner or not, that's a big, major conversation and altercation that's going to be happening. So I do hope that this woman sits down and has a serious conversation and figure out with him, like, are we both wanting to work on this marriage? Or is it something that we just need to part ways because that's best for both of them and apparently their daughter as well.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Mom Talk. All story links from this episode and previous episodes will be available on my website if you'd like to see or comment on the posts themselves. The links will also be in the description on Spotify and YouTube. If you'd like to look up my friend Lex, I will also include her TikTok and Instagram handles in the description below. We'll see you next week. Bye!